So recently, Simgot released this EA500 in-ear monitors, or IEMs, or earphones, and they actually made one of the best IEMs of the year in the sub $100 category, and in this video I'm going to explain why, so let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. There is the box for the EA500. Inside, they do provide a carrying case, an okay selection of ear tips, not great, but the big draw, the big card in this is of course, the IEMs, and there they are. So there, as you can see, they've got polished shells, so yes, they are fingerprint magnets. They do look pretty swish, and they are very comfortable as well. They've got a little bit of heft to them, but they're not heavy. 2-pin standard 0.78mm connectors, of course, and nozzles. The nozzles are actually removable, and that's because the EA500 comes with 2 sets of tuning filters, which I will talk about, of course, later on. Now, in terms of comfort, I find these fantastic. I can wear these. This is sort of an all-day long comfort IEM for me, and yeah, they just fit really nicely in my ears. I'll have a quick look at the cable now, and the cable is also quite nice. Silver plated copper, nothing special or nothing fancy, but it's pretty nice for a sub $100 IEM. And by the way, the price of the EA500 here is $79. Now, inside of the EA500, we're looking at single 10mm dynamic driver, which is a super popular configuration in the sub 100 segment. And without any further ado, let's get right into the sound. We'll start with the graph here, and there you go. So it looks pretty familiar. There is a little bit of an uptick after 10 kilohertz there, but apart from that, you're looking at sort of pretty standard Harmonish type tuning there. The difference with the filters, the red filters, which are my preferred ones, they're basically a Harman tuning, and the black filters are Simgot's interpretation of the Harman tuning, which is Harman Target, which is just all very similar, but just a slight bit brighter. I stuck with the red filters as I felt they had sort of just the right amount of bite and detail, but without exceeding my tolerance for sharpness. So the overall signature is, what would I call it? I'd say it's fairly balanced. You know, the bass, the mid-range, and the treble is all fairly evenly represented. It's got a nice dynamic sound. It's vibrant, it's colorful. But let's break it down now, and we'll start with the bass. And the Simgot EA500 boasts an engaging, punchy bass. It's boosted slightly above neutral. It's well defined, it's full bodied, but it never intrudes or smothers the mid-range or the highs. The sub-bass and mid-bass are balanced fairly linearly, which results in a natural weight and an effortless transition between those two, between the sub-bass and the mid-bass. So in the graph, you will see it does roll off slightly in the sub bass. That is actually the way I like it, rather than a lot of the stuff that's been coming out recently. We'll get into that later as well. The bass is fast enough to keep pace with complex music while maintaining fullness and natural decay. It also offers ample texture and layering with a sub bass rumble that satisfies all but the most demanding bass heads. One of the best aspects, in my opinion, of the EA500 is that it doesn't strangle or suck out the upper bass, and that results in a great sense of rhythm and a richness. It never feels dry, and it doesn't lack engagement. In terms of the mid-range, it's definitely a standout feature of the sound signature. The lower mids, they are rich and full-bodied, thanks in part to the abundance of that mid and upper bass. Vocals are slightly forward in the mix, which gives them a natural presence. It never feels artificial or overemphasized, or on the other hand, it never feels recessed either. The mids convey a wide range of emotions, from bright and cheerful to somber and melancholy. They have this sort of captivating quality that draws you in with layers of nuance and detail that reveal themselves over time. In the lower mids, there's plenty of warmth and body that provides a solid foundation for instruments like guitars and pianos. The upper mids have a touch of brightness that brings out the details in vocals and other mid-range instruments like horns and strings. There's also excellent clarity and articulation throughout the mids, which ensures that every note and detail is audible. And then we've got the treble, which strikes a fine balance between smoothness and excitement. The EA500 boasts an exceptional treble response with a bright and airy sound. The highs are well refined, and percussion instruments are presented with remarkable clarity without sacrificing balance. They're not too sharp, but they don't sound sluggish either. The treble has a decay that lingers naturally, and it's got this sort of polished, sharp, well, it's not really a sharpness, but I'll call it a polished sharpness. Gives it a slightly colored texture, but it remains very clean and it's very generous in micro details. The highs become an integral part of the overall listening experience rather than just an afterthought or an added feature. It's like a really nicely well balanced in relation to the bass and the mid-range. Now, in terms of soundstage and technical performance, they've got a nice soundstage. It is pretty large. It is nicely rounded, so there's a good amount of depth going forward, and there's plenty of width in the stage as well. Left and right imaging is spot on. It's very precise, so good imaging and positioning throughout the soundstage, so you get a very clear indication of the location of, is that right? Yeah, you get a very clear indication of the location of various instruments and the strong center image, whether that be vocals or, you know, whatever instrument. They've got a good level of detail. The overall resolution is pretty fantastic as well. And look, there's just a whole lot more to say. These are awesome. And if you're shopping for something $100 or less, definitely these need to be on your list. And now for time for a couple of comparisons, we'll start with these ones here. This is the Triple Win HBB Olina SE, and the Olina SE, of course, is another single dynamic driver IEM. It's got added sub bass compared to the EA500. It doesn't roll off. It sort of keeps flowing over and which is good in a way, but it doesn't meld. It doesn't gel with me. But it does the sub bass quite well, so I'm not going to dwell on that. The Olina has kind of a flatter presentation. Like, it doesn't sound as dynamic or exciting to my ears as the EA500. It performs really well pretty much in all aspects, but it's just a little bit unexciting. It's a little bit too safe in its tuning. And what I mean by that is the EA500 is it's a little bit more engaging. It's up close and personal. It's a bit more intimate, yet at the same time, it's got that big sound stage. It's just a little bit more upfront in everything that it does, where the Olina is kind of more laid back and just plays it very safe and smooth and a little bit boring. So I think it's partly due to the EA500's sort of mids. They are a bit more pronounced and visceral, and the treble region is more exciting as well. It's got more sparkle in the highs, where the Olina is just very soft. And I'll point out that I'm not bagging on the Olina SE. I recognize it's a good IEM, but it's just really a testament to the fierce competition that we're seeing in Chi-Fi at the moment. The Simgot outperforms the Olina, yet it comes at a lower price point. And this is just a regular consequence of the current Chi-Fi price wars. Everybody's trying to deliver the best, cheapest, the sub 100 single dynamic driver IEM. As a result, the consumers and us reviewers as well, everybody's getting spoiled for choice. But yeah, Simgot has done something rather special here. Now let's do one more quick review before we finish up. Now this is the Moondrop Aria Snow Edition. If I remember correctly, it's the same price as the EA500. It's like 79 bucks, I think. It's also a single dynamic driver IEM. Now, the most obvious difference between these two is the Aria SE's reduced bass level, and that results in more spacious lower mids and a sort of a cleaner mid-range in general. The Aria SE also has more treble roll-off, which again brings the mids and vocals into prominence very forward. You might think it would also reduce the detail retrieval, but it's actually compensated by the attenuated bass level, so it ends up being pretty similar to the EA500 in terms of detail retrieval. Furthermore, the Aria SE's upper mids, they are a bit forward due to that more attenuated bass. I sometimes find the Snow Edition here can be a little shouty in the upper mid range. So overall, the Aria SE kind of has a more mid-focused tuning, while the EA500 is a bit more dynamic and punchy and lively. The Aria SE's soundstage is narrower, it's not as wide, and it has more intimate vocals because of that emphasis on the upper mid-range, whereas the Simgot creates a larger space overall. Both are great IEMs. Which one is the best will come down to your personal preference and to some degree your taste in music as well. So in conclusion, these are just brilliant. They're fantastic. I think these are definitely probably in my top 3 sub 100, but there's so many good ones now. Like the Olina SE is not one of my favorites, but I have to admit it's a good IEM. Moondrop Aria, I don't know why I chose this one. I probably should have compared with the original Aria, not the Snow Edition, because I prefer that one a bit more. Look, but there's other good ones as well. I still like the Wizard HE01. I still like the, what was the other one? The Heidi's MS2 is a good one, if you don't mind a brighter. Then you've got the Truth Ear Hexa, and then you've got, I could go on and on. But I'm just going to finish by saying these are great. Definitely check them out if you are shopping. And I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Parfam audiophile style. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on videos in the future. And until next time, I'll see you later.